Hey, what's up? Jimmy Smith for my post-fight Rakic versus Smith UFC Fight Night. Today was the first day of my show. I took over for Luke Thomas. Unlocking the Cage had its inaugural episode today. I had Joe Rogan on. We talked for a half hour, 2 segments basically. He was like, why can't you talk longer? I'm like, because it's not a podcast, dude. We have commercials and stuff. So I had fun. I don't know if you guys saw it. We retweeted a conversation we had about Chadwick Boseman. Very, very emotional. It's good stuff, man. So I appreciate it. A lot of people want to ask me if there's going to be a podcast version. Because I know Luke had one. I will find out about that this week. Once again, we're just starting, so we'll figure everything out as we go. But I will find out if there's going to be a podcast version or anything like that, or anything I can put up. So anyway, enough of that. My picks were good for Rakic versus Smith until the main event. So I got 3 out of 4 on the main event. Obviously, the Iwan Cutelaba fight that I broke down before versus Ankalaev didn't happen because Cutelaba tested hot for COVID-19. So we start off with Ricardo Lamas versus Bill Algeo. Lamas looked good. Another thing is a lot of fights went how I thought they were going to go, not just the winner I thought, but they kind of went how I thought they would. Ricardo Lamas just looked a little better than Bill Algeo. Algeo had good composure for a guy making his UFC debut. Big, he was aggressive from the beginning, had kind of a funky style, but didn't over-attack, didn't seem overwhelmed by the moment, didn't seem nervous. He did a good job against Lamas. Lamas was just a little better. Good footwork, good versatility, good accuracy, the stuff he's been known for a while. Didn't really become much of a ground battle until the 3rd round. It was almost all a stand-up fight. Algeo caught him in round 2. I think it was an overhand right. Stunned him for a second, but like a veteran, Ricardo Lamas came back, righted the ship, and had a good 3rd round. So he ended up winning unanimous decision, 29-28. Lamas looked good. He was talking about maybe retiring. I'm going to have him on the show tomorrow to talk about that. So he'll be on my show tomorrow. I'm not sure what time. I'll find out and let you guys know. But anyway, so I'll talk to him tomorrow about all that. But I thought he looked great. Looked like a veteran and didn't give me that impression that he's somehow, fallen off the cliff or, way past his prime or can't be in the UFC anymore. I thought he looked good. Got a good win or against a tough guy. So first pick was correct. I picked Lamas probably by decision. Alexa Grasso, Ji-Young Kim. Grasso won by decision, which was what I picked. And it was pretty much on the strength of her boxing. Kim was the bigger fighter, but couldn't do a lot with it. Tried to counter with some big shots. Grasso was too quick. She couldn't change the range up on Grasso the way Magny did on Robbie Lawler. Let me explain. When you have a good boxer, they're generally good at medium range. If you get in close, they can't hit you. Stay far away, they can't hit you. Kim couldn't ever do that. They were always in boxing range. And Alexa Grasso had really sharp combinations, good accuracy, turning it over really, really well. Not a power puncher by any stretch of the imagination, but turning it up enough that she didn't let Kim walk her down. She didn't let Kim walk through her punches and get her to the fence. She didn't let Kim walk through her shots and make it a grappling match. All the things that someone without a lot of pop in their punches can have trouble doing. That wasn't an issue, man. I thought she really controlled the fight. She did a great job. She was clearly the better fighter. How far away is she from a title shot? I don't think very far. It's just 125. Shevchenko is the woman in that division. She's going to go through a lot of people, and I think Grasso, should she have one more good performance, she looks solid, she'll probably get a title shot. It's just the nature of the division. It's the nature of every women's division above 115 pounds. One good performance and you're right in there in title contention, and this was a good performance. She looked good stepping up to 125, and you could see the difference. She was quick. She might not have the power to put a big 25er down, but she has the speed to out-hustle him, and that could be enough right now. But good job, Alexa Grasso. I picked her to win by decision. She won by decision. I hate that I picked this one and it went this way. Neil Magny over Robbie Lawler, just because I love Robbie Lawler so much. But as I said in the Grasso fight, Robbie Lawler is a great medium-range puncher. He has crazy power, but he doesn't have a great clinch game. He's not a great kicker. If you can stay out of that middle area, you can beat him. And that's all Neil Magny did, was he made it a clinch game, a takedown game, and on the outside he used his kicks. He was never in the middle exchanging punches. When they were in the middle, he was flicking out a quick jab in order to reset and get the fight somewhere else. He didn't hang out in Robbie's wheelhouse. Neil Magny right now, and if you are able to check out my first episode of Unlocking the Cage, Joe and I talked about Robbie Lawler and Neil Magny, and Joe's a huge Neil Magny fan and thinks he can really be a contender at 170. That he's looking great right now. He's looking better than he ever has in his entire career. I agree with that. I do think he's looking great. He's using his build well. It was always kind of frustrating earlier on in his career watching him fight and going, God, if I were built like that, Jesus, all I would do is jab and kick and clinch guys up and destroy them with knees and elbows. And he had a tendency, I think, earlier on to get in exchanges that didn't benefit him. And in the Ponzinibbio fight, which is the last fight of his I called physically that I was there, man, Ponzinibbio beat the piss out of him. And a lot of it was in that middle range where Magny couldn't make a grappling game out of it and couldn't keep him on the outside. He's getting much better at using the jab, being patient, a lot of more footwork than he used to use. The problem Neil Magny has moving forward is he's a known quantity, meaning fighters and promoters aren't going, wow, look at this new guy. He isn't the new product on the shelf, okay? We all know Neil Magny. And he's had ups and downs in his career. He looked great against Robbie Lawler. We saw against RDA, he just got taken down and submitted pretty easily. Sure, he had won his 2 before that, but Ponzinibbio beat him up pretty badly. So he's had some steps backward that have kind of taken him off track. Does he get back on track with this win? I think so. It's a solid win against a former champion, a faded former champion. However, a guy Robbie Lawler hasn't looked good in his last few fights. This is 4 in a row. He's lost 5 of his last 6. Who knows if he's going to continue in this sport? So it's the perfect time to take on a guy with a great name and a limited style. Right? I mean, Robbie can't do a lot of stuff super well. He knocks you out. That's what he does. He's got a simple double leg, single leg. That wasn't working earlier in the fight. And the fact that Robbie Lawler was going for a takedown early, which he almost never did before, shows he's either trying to change things up or he doesn't have all the faith he used to have in his punching power. But great performance by Neil Magny. So the reason it's a kind of a mixed bag here is I don't know how much it advances Neil Magny for all of those reasons. Well, we already know who he is. The UFC, I don't know if they're going to get behind a guy who's had as many fights as Neil Magny, who's had as many, losses as Neil Magny and steps down and stuff. But I think 2 more against big names, and you're not going to be able to avoid him being a contender. But I think he definitely deserves it. I think he's an excellent fighter, and his build just causes so many problems. His length, his height, everything. The main event, that's the one that let me down. So I've been right all the way through. I took Anthony Smith over Alexander Rakic, and it was a wipeout from the beginning. The way I said on my show today is you have those fights or games, if you're a tennis player or whatever, where everything's going your way. You hit the ball and it's just zinging, right? You're a baseball player and the ball comes at you and it looks like a volleyball, like you can't miss. And that's how it was for Rakic. He didn't do anything crazy. He didn't, Joe today called his striking, his kickboxing really high level. It was good. It was really solid. He didn't throw anything spectacular. There were no flying knees. There was no spinning stuff. Leg kick, basic leg kick was tearing Anthony Smith up. Tearing him up. They exchanged punches, and Rakic just hit a lot harder. Smith went for takedowns, and they went nowhere. He almost shrugged him off, and he fell right to his butt. He just manhandled Anthony Smith. Of course, Anthony Smith afterwards said he might go back to 185 or he needs to bulk up for 205. These guys are just too strong. Rakic looked like the much stronger fighter. Much stronger, which I don't know exactly where that comes from in the sense of when they were squaring off, they're both 6'4", the range is similar. I think Rakic has a 2-inch advantage or something, but frame-wise, he didn't look a lot bigger than Anthony Smith. Yes, he was more shredded. Yeah, he looked a little thicker, but not, he said at the end, Anthony Smith, it felt like they were in 2 different weight classes. It didn't look like that. It didn't look like a ragdoll type disparity, but it looked like it once they were fighting. When they were standing next to each other, it didn't look that different, but everything Rakic did, he seemed way stronger than Anthony Smith. So Rakic puts himself right up there. He just beat the number 5 guy, mauled the number 5 guy. It was 30-27 on 2 scorecards, 30-26 on 1, which I think is totally fair. Rakic just owned him. So what's next? Of course, the title's on the line. Reyes versus Blachowicz. I don't think he would get the loser of that, although he might. And then you have Glover Teixeira. He's fighting soon. It's escaping me now who he's fighting. Let me look it up real quick. So everybody in front of him kind of has a dance partner right now. Let's assume he jumped into the number 5 spot, which would be totally fair. So the issue is everybody ahead of him, there's somebody to fight right now. So he's going to have to wait a second to you know, to get his next fight. It's just going to take a while. It's going to be, I don't know why I'm blanking on this. Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos versus Glover Teixeira. I see the issues. Let's say he gets the winner of that fight, which is certainly possible. The two issues he can take advantage of. Glover Teixeira still hits very hard. Obviously, we saw that against Anthony Smith. He's not as explosive as he used to be. He's getting a little bit older. And not as versatile as he used to be. He still has old man power, still has old man pressure when it comes to the ground game. He hasn't had a ton of gas, meaning his output isn't what it used to be. And his athleticism, explosiveness isn't what it used to be. Thiago Santos, much like Anthony Smith, is a puffed up middleweight. So, although he did have a great fight against John Jones, he doesn't have the strength and the size of Rakic. And so, it may look very much like the Anthony Smith fight if he fights Thiago Santos. So, that's interesting to me. He might get the winner of that fight, and I think both guys would be really vulnerable to Rakic. I really do. It doesn't make sense for him to fight the loser of the Blachowicz-Reyes fight because it's a dangerous fight, and you don't want to put a guy who's streaking up against a guy who just lost generally. Usually, promotionally, you want to put two guys who are streaking. The winner of Teixeira versus Santos is going to be streaking, and then you have, of course, Rakic who is streaking. So it makes more sense he gets the winner of that rather than the loser of the title fight. And I think both of those guys are favorable matchups for him. It wouldn't surprise me if early next year we're talking about Rakic getting a title shot. I don't know against who. Blachowicz versus Reyes is going to be a great fight. So that's how I see it. So I was right up until the main event. What's Anthony Smith going to do? I think he should bulk up rather than go down to 185. Letting his body go up to 205, his body's going to adjust to that and feel great. And you go back down, it can be tough. It'll be shades of, I think, Roy Jones Jr. after he fought John Ruiz and went back down to light heavyweight and was a shadow of his former self. I think we might see something like that. It makes more sense for him to bulk up and get more muscle than it does for him to shred down to 185. It's going to be hard on his body. So let me know what you guys think. Please check out SiriusXM, Unlocking the Cage every day from 1 to 3. And I'll be on air tomorrow, and I'll be catching up with you guys soon. Later.